Oh boy, what a mistake. They let us back on the network, and by they, I mean me, and by me, I mean, haha, controlling your airwaves. Welcome to the second episode of Highly Debatable. I'm OSU. I'm hanging out with my man Sonny Weaver. Sonny, episode 2. What I've heard, the reviews that I've heard on episode 1 were life-changing, frankly amazing, and how come I can't get my hands on these two handsome men? That's what I heard. Those were just the reviews that I heard.
Yeah, I heard similar rumblings in the background. I believe one of the complaints I did receive was we didn't touch on the not top 5 enough. So shout out to Z-Star for not top 5. We will get to that, I promise. That ownership debacle will not be forgotten.
Hey, shout out. Hey, let's just, one more time. Shout out to the not top 5, okay? Shout out to the not top 5. Now, Sonny, I don't know if you saw this, but I'm just going to pull up the old scorecard here. That looks like a 1 in the column of this handsome fella on the left side with that hashtag OSU wins. Undefeated, winless. Your thoughts on the first showing here on Highly Debatable?
Well, OSU, I'm glad you brought this up. As we speak, I am forming a blue ribbon commission to investigate the results of week 1. I have heard rumblings of voter suppression for Team Sonny. I have heard scare tactics. I have heard all sorts of things, and I will promise my friends out there, I will get to the bottom of this. I will not stand to have that taken away from me.
Blasphemy. Absolute blasphemy. There were no hanging chads involved. There was no problems. Everybody knows who the right person is here on Highly Debatable. It's OSU. As always, if it's your first chance joining us here on Highly Debatable, first of all, go watch that first episode. But if you watch this show and you think there's a winner, which is usually me, as we've already seen, 1-0. I mean, I'm undefeated. But write in the comments below here, post either hashtag OSU wins or hashtag Sonny wins. If you believe one of us has won the debate, if you believe nobody has won the debate, don't comment anything because we don't want to hear from you. So thanks for tuning in. Let's get to round 1. And our round 1 topic involves, well, the draft that we, just had. It's the end here of season 27, but the season 27 draft. And round 1, we saw a couple picks that have been struggling. And the one name that keeps coming to mind, Sonny, is DeMarco Riley. He had a lot of hype coming out of Texas A&M. And frankly, he's been a big bust. But the question is DeMarco Riley the biggest bust in the NBL off that draft? And for me, no. The answer for me is Julius Stewart. And that's mostly because you get taken with the number 5 overall pick in the NBL draft. You're expected to do something good. And at the end of the day, Denver was not a team that was devoid of talent. There's a lot of talent in Denver. And at the end of the day, he has been an absolute dud, completing 54% of his passes, a quarterback rating under 50, which I'm pretty sure is the quarterback rating that Sonny Weaver would get if he suited up right now. 6 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. Now, it hasn't all been his fault because he's been sacked 44 times, but that offensive line, while it has been bad, there's been a lot of times that Julius Stewart just has been indecisive. This guy has all the talent to be good, Sonny, and he hasn't been good, and I think that's the reason why he's the biggest bust out of that draft.
Well, let me start off by telling you where you're wrong. Julius Stewart will be okay. The issue with Julius Stewart, obviously, is quarterbacks coming in, they start week 1, contrary to what they did in Jacksonville. That's the right call, right? And so they start him week 1. He takes his lumps, and throughout the season, he's going to get better, and he's going to get better into the future. Now, quarterbacks taken in the top 5, not a crazy idea. But let me tell you one thing that is crazy. Taking a running back in the top 6 in NBL, that's a problem. And I get it. DeMarco Riley's explosive, and he can do all these things. But his biggest issue is he can't stay healthy. By my accounts, he's only played, 8 games this year as we're heading into week 16. So he's playing about half the games, constantly banged up. He's boom or bust. He's had multiple games under 100 yards, only 2 over so far in his career. You take a running back in the top 6, expect the wrath of the pundits like us. You don't take a running back that early in NBL. And for me, that's why he is, in fact, a bust.
I guess here's my question. I'll pose this back to you. Can you really be a bust if everybody says off the beginning that's a bad pick? I mean, at the end of the day, if at the number 1 overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected me to play quarterback and I played badly, am I really a bust because everybody knew that was just a terrible choice picking an overweight commentator? I mean, at the end of the day, that pick, everybody said, and by everybody, I mean the 2 people who were on that draft, which happened to be us, so You're welcome, America. At the end of the day, we were saying at the time, this is a bad pick. Why are you taking a running back so high? And so far, once again, Sonny and OSU proven right that a running back in the top 10 of the draft is just a waste of a pick.
Well, it's not a bust by definition just because of the pick. You're a bust because you're not doing what you have to do to be the sixth pick, right? If you do take a halfback in the sixth pick, he should be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. He should be able to play in each and every game, right? But he's not doing those things. He's only explosive once or twice this year, and he's just missing too much time. I feel like Green Bay had so many other needs that, of course, the guy was set up to be a bust, but he could have overcame that, and he's just not living up to the hype.
Here's the reason why. I mean, the biggest indicator that Stewart is the biggest bust is this Denver Broncos defense has played out of this world. I mean, they're a top 10 defense in every statistical category. They do give up points. Some of that is due to the fact that Julius Stewart throws it to the other team way too much and ends up giving short fields or just skips the hole, put the defense on the field, lets them get in the end zone. But they're the second worst. They're averaging under 100 yards a game passing in this entire season. 94.3 yards. Second worst in the NBL. And I don't have to tell you, Sonny, there are some bad passing teams out there in the NBL. Some real bad passing teams with a lot less talent. And Julius Stewart has come in and said, hold my beer, guys. I'm going to be a little worse than everyone else.
Yeah, but
they've got the number 6 rushing attack. How is Julius Stewart not been able to put in the end zone?
But Stewart still shows promise. Stewart still can evolve. Quarterbacks are not expected to come in year one and be the savior. If you're going to bring a running back in, you better be the savior. No, you're just wrong. Julius Stewart will be fine out there in Denver. They got to find an offensive line for him. He has no line. 44 sacks, that's not on him.
105.6 rushing yards a game is the number 6 in the NBL. The offensive line is playing good enough to get the ball, get C.J. Anderson holes.
Not run blocking.
Pass blocking, at least, it's not the difference between 6th and 31st. That's not the offensive line. Hey, I play in this division. I've seen Julius Stewart play. Not very good.
Wrong. You're wrong.
Settle down. I'm undefeated. You're winless. Let's move on to round 2. And Sonny Weaver here in round 2, I can see you, because I can see you right now. There's a little smile on your face because Andrew Luck, yeah, he's out. He's got that. It turns out when you're a quarterback, having a dislocated elbow is not quite one of those injuries you're looking for. So Andrew Luck will be out till, I believe the word is possibly in the middle of the playoffs. If they get to the second round, he has a chance to return there. So I guess the question for you, Sonny, and as somebody who plays in the Colts division is, do the Indianapolis Colts have a chance without Andrew Luck at quarterback in that they're still in a fight to get in the playoffs?
Well, let's talk about that for a second. What does a chance mean for this team? There was a quote there by Luck a couple weeks back, right before he got injured on Bleacher Report, where they talked about how Luck felt like he was ready to take on the challenge, and they were depending on him. He was going to carry that team, and boom, he goes down injured. Yes, they have a chance to make the playoffs because basically they'd have to lose out at this point. Blaine Gabbert played admirably as far as getting them through the game last week against the Jets. But I'll tell you right now, they have no chance to win in the playoffs without Andrew Luck. The guy is built to make people miss in the pocket. That line is not very good in Indianapolis. He has to shed tacklers all of the time. He's got a cannon, get the ball downfield. Blaine Gabbert is not that guy. And I'm telling you right now, this defense from Indianapolis, who's actually played okay this year, is not going to be able to handle the pressure of the constant 3-and-outs that Indianapolis is going to see without Andrew Luck.
Here's my concern with the Colts, and let's start with, do I think they're going to make the playoffs? Yes, 100%, because at the end of the day, they've got a nice record right now. They're sitting there at, 10-4. Their top 10 offense, their defense has struggled, but I think with Carlos Hyde, with Marlon Mack, and with Blaine Gabbert, they're going to find a way. Their ending schedule, they finish with the Browns and the Cowboys. Not an easy 2 games, but not the hardest games I've ever seen. The team that's going to be fighting with them for that division are your Tennessee Titans, and the Titans have a brutal game coming up this week against the Chargers, formerly of San Diego, now in Los Angeles. So I think the Colts are fine to make the playoffs. Do I think they'll win in the playoffs? I think this team can win a game. I think they can win a game. I think anything is possible here in the NBL, and at the end of the day, this Colts team, the biggest mantra I think from in chats and through NBL Lives and all this is nobody has counted on the Colts to do anything this year. And at the end of the day, I think the Colts are going to go into the playoffs as the division winner, which means they're going to have a better matchup than they would as a wild card. And I think at that point, you give the Colts a chance. They need to get through the end of the season against two teams that I think they can beat even without Andrew Luck, and then win one game in the playoffs and they have Andrew Luck back. I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl because I still think the Pittsburgh Steelers are the best team in the AFC, but I think this team definitely has a chance. If I was a betting man, I don't know if I'd put money on them, but I think this Colts team is fine even with Andrew Luck out.
Well, let me help you out, OSU, because since you've already given me this round, I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit of knowledge here for you. Colts have to win out in order to win that division because of the tiebreakers in the AFC South, with the Colts having 2 division losses versus the Titans 1 division loss. It would require the Titans either lose both or the Colts to win both. And I can tell you right now, the Colts aren't going to win both. So basically, you're wrong. And again, it fills my heart with so much joy to tell you you're wrong.
I'm just so excited to watch the Titans lose their last 2 games of the year and miss the playoffs.
Not going to happen.
If there's one thing we've learned here in the NBL, it's Sonny Weaver teams know how to disappoint. Look, I'm not saying Blaine Gabbert is... I'm saying Blaine Gabbert is a very serviceable backup. They played this week against the not top 5 Browns, so you can basically chalk that up as a win already. And then they play the Dallas Cowboys. This Cowboys team has surprised me, Sonny. This is a team that's playing a lot better than I thought they would. They've got a very talented team, but the Cowboys' biggest struggle has been on the offensive side of the ball. And at the end of the day, the Colts' biggest struggle is defensively. I think this defense plays up and helps out Blaine Gabbert a little bit, forces some turnovers in both of these games finishing the year. I think the Colts are fine. They beat the Jets. And then I think that Blaine Gabbert has some confidence coming off that win against the Jets. They're going to win out. They're going to win this division. Do I think they win the first round of playoffs? I don't know. It depends on who they get matched up against.
Well, let's go ahead and give you an alternative theory here. Colts lose both games. Colts are on the outside looking in. They don't even make the playoffs, let alone win a division. So keep your eye open for that one.
You think there's a chance they lose both those games?
I think there's a very good chance. I think.
So at that point, who are you saying are your wild card teams?
I think at that point would be the Browns and probably looking at the Patriots.
Wait, hold on. So you're taking the not top 5 Browns to make the playoffs this year?
I think this game this week, Week 16, if they beat the Colts, they're in.
Sonny Weaver's got that flash taped on the inside of his dress right there. I think out of the AFC, the Colts are still going to win that division. I think they're going to win out. And once again, much like in the first episode of Highly Debatable, prove Sonny Weaver wrong. The Colts are going to win that division. The Titans are going to be breathing on the glass, staring outside, wishing they were in the playoffs, but sitting at home with a single tear running down their face. And I think the Patriots are going to be that one wild card team. I like the Kansas City Chiefs. This Chiefs team, I think, is playing really well at the end of the season. I think the Chiefs are that second wild card team. But let's get to round 3, because this is the topic I've probably been most excited to talk about. And it all comes down to who is the team right now who is under 500. We got the no power rankings up there, but we're going to extend this to under 500. Who's got a shot to make the playoffs next year? Not just be better, but make those playoffs. And you're looking at the bottom, you got the Eagles, Jaguars, Ravens, Rams, Bucks. And that picking any one of those teams would be a bold move. A bold move. The Eagles, this is actually an old no power rankings. So big shout out to our graphics guy, Kyle, and of course, Nate Silver over, who gives us that grade. I think this is after week 11. The Eagles actually have a win right now, Sonny. They do have a win, so that winless Eagles team no longer winless. They're not going 0-16. I'm going to take this one first, Sonny. And we're going with teams who are currently under 500. We're sitting here in what? We're in week 15? I think we're in week 15. I kind of know what's going on. The team I'm going to go with is sitting at 6-8 right now, so it's not a big leap. But I really like this New Orleans Saints team. Ross Bonham at quarterback. We saw him on NBL Live. I think this guy has a lot of talent. And with a year under his belt, I think he's going to be better. Alvin Kamara at running backs had a tough year average-wise, only averaging 3.7 yards per carry. But I think everybody knows the talent that he has. And at the end of the day, I think the Saints team, they pick up some players through free agency, mostly shoring up that secondary. They're giving up a lot of yards to the pass. If they can get a cornerback in the draft or in free agency and get some help on the offensive line, I think that one through the draft. This Saints team in that AFC South, I know the Falcons are good. The Panthers, I'm not buying in on them. I think this Saints team makes the playoffs next year. I don't know about division, but I think they're definitely a wild card team next year. And the Saints can start making some noise with Ross Bottom at quarterback.
The Saints are the third best team in that division. They'll stay the third best team in that division. Not a scary pick if you think both teams in front of them in that division are going to make the playoffs if you're just going for a wild card. But my team I'm going with is going to win their division next year.
Yes, the Oakland Raiders. Thank you so much.
I'm taking a team to win the division, and that is out of the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers. And let's talk about that division first.
All right.
You know, so what you have is an aging Seattle Seahawks team struggling to get over 500. They're being chased by an also aging Cardinals teams. And there you have the 49ers. They've been in a lot of tough games this year. Very young, cap flush. They can go out. They can make some big moves in the offseason. I think they're very well prepared to try to make a run at this division. A little bit by division, just kind of degradation, but also because I have a lot of faith in ownership and that young core of defensive talent they have out there in San Francisco.
So, okay, I'm gonna focus on your pick for just a second here. This San Francisco 49ers offense has been horrible, and they have not found a way to – they've had some young quarterbacks. They haven't found a way to develop whatsoever. What gives you any faith the 49ers can find somebody at the position that they've had the most struggle of getting talent in?
Well, I'll tell you, about $50 million in cap space tells me that. I tell you,
I don't doubt they can find somebody. What makes you think that they're going to have any success there? You think this coaching staff can actually have some sort of development plan with a young quarterback, or even get a quarterback in here and have him play well?
Well, I think what it comes down to is you build that offensive line, you put a running back behind them, and you let them go. You know, a lot of play action out there. OSU, frankly, here's what it comes down to. They're not that far off. They're literally 3 wins back at 4-10 from being tied for the division. It's as much about the lack of talent in that division as it is anything. Those teams, their cap keeps rising. They've got aging veterans. They're not going to be able to support a team. They're not going to be able to support the stars. They're going to have some big holes. And even with those stars right now, they're struggling. If we're going to flip and look back at your team, what makes you think they've got any sort of chance of overtaking the Falcons or the Panthers? The Panthers have come back. By the way, my dark horse team we talked about on last episode. Make sure you go check that out. But why would the New Orleans Saints ever make up any ground on them? They're not doing anything special this year that makes you think that's going to happen.
Ross Bottom in his rookie season, he's one of the few quarterbacks who doesn't have more interceptions thrown than touchdowns. He has a quarterback rating of 97.6, completing 69% of his passes. And the New Orleans Saints are sitting there at 6-8. Yes, it's a tough division. A lot of their struggles have been not having a running back, and as we have found in the NBL, finding a running back, not the hardest thing to do. We saw the running back free agent class after last season. I mean, running backs are a dime a dozen. You either trust Alvin Kamara, you go find another running back, you give Ross Bottom any semblance of a run game. This guy succeeds. He is a rookie playing against some teams with, I mean, let's be clear, the NFC South has some monster defensive lines. I mean, Takkarist McKinley is one of the best players in the NBL. That Panthers defensive line is one of the best in the NBL. And at the end of the day, Ross Bottom has managed to stay in the pocket, throw for almost 2,200 yards, and not turn the ball over in his rookie season. This guy's going to be a star in the NBL.
Ross Bottom is a fraud. Go ahead. Put that on Bleacher Report. Put it in big writing. Ross Bottom is a fraud. 43 receptions, 805 to his tight end. He's so dependent on Coby Fleener. You take Fleener away, the guy can't win the big games. It's what it comes down to. Bottom is so reliant on tight end, he will never find a way to win in this league when you can't throw to your guys on the outside.
I don't care where he's lined up. You throw it to your own team, and you're doing a good job. And so far, this San Francisco
so good they have a losing record.
Well, the San Francisco team, I believe CJ Beathard, 5 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Yeah, I'm gonna have faith in a San Francisco team that is not only sitting there at under 500, they are thoroughly under 500 at 4-10 in the worst division in the NBL, and they are the third best team in that division because the Seahawks are better than them. And this Arizona Cardinals team, that defense makes this team a contender every year. You're overrated. Sonny Weaver is sitting there. Let's remember, folks, don't forget, winless on Highly Debatable, still undefeated, and you're going to make me undefeated another week in a row.
Hashtag Sonny wins.
Because he just picked the 49ers to make it. Look, I love the 49ers. I love owner October, but it's not happening next year. I think they're 3 years away. In 3 seasons, watch out for this 49ers team, because I also think that the rest of the division, they're going to be struggling coming forward. But I think at the end of the day, this Cardinals team has impressed me. The Seahawks team has impressed me. And in no way is the NFC West getting more than one team in the playoff next year. The 49ers are not making the playoffs. I'm calling it right now, Sonny. I'm putting $200 on it right now. The 49ers are not even coming close to the playoffs.
You're a flip-flopper. You just talked about how bad that division was last week, and now you act like it's insurmountable. You can't.
It is insurmountable. A bad division.
You can't keep to your script.
Bad division is insurmountable for bad teams. That's how bad they are. They're 4-10 in the worst division. They can't beat their own teams. It's a horrible division. And you think they're going to win anybody else in the NFC? Get out of here. We're done. Let's get to the shout-out. All right, Sonny Weaver. This is our favorite part because we also don't tell each other this. So I'm excited. Sonny Weaver, who's your shout-out?
Well, this one will feel like it's hitting a little close to home, but shout out to your Oakland Raiders. Sitting once upon a time at a 6-1 record, people thinking they were going to make a run to the playoffs. They've now dropped 6 of the last 7. And boy, folks, they're looking quite inept. If you saw NBL Live the other day, you know the struggles are real in Oakland. So shout out to those guys in Oakland.
Well, first of all, you kind of stole my thunder because I was going to shout out Derek Carr for being just a stellar player the last couple weeks. But I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to be a nice guy this week. And OSU, he knows when he's wrong. And he's not wrong a lot, but he's willing to admit it. I'm going to give a shout out to the Seattle Seahawks, who I think are better than I thought they were. Do I think they're the weakest Super Bowl champion of all time? Absolutely. That I wasn't wrong about. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give a shout out to one specific player on the Seattle Seahawks, and it's Thomas Rawls. This dude is a monster. I don't know if you've seen the Oakland Raiders defense, but they've got some players on that side of the ball, and Thomas Rawls shook them off like it was nothing. He is a great player. He is what makes this Seattle Seahawks team a possible contender as they're going to win that division in the playoffs. A good running game is well, it's been easier to come by this year, but Thomas Rawls is talented. A big shout out to Thomas Rawls and the Seattle Seahawks. Go out there and lose in the first round of the playoffs for me. Sonny Weaver, another episode of Highly Debatable. How much longer do you think they're really going to let us keep doing this?
Well, as long as we keep it entertaining, I'll tell you what, though, it's going to be tough. When I get on the run, once we get last week's results overturned,
I'm just throwing up the scorecard down below one more time so everybody can see.
There were some flags. I'm not even going to lie about that need to be reviewed. But once I get on a roll, when it becomes such a beatdown that it's not even entertaining anymore, that may be the end of the show. But we've got a couple weeks, I think.
It's cool. We're going to have some great shows for Highly Debatable because neither of our teams are going to be in the playoffs. It's going to be amazing. We can't wait to see you for episode 3 of Highly Debatable, which, Sonny, there's some rumors we might be turning this into a little bit of a live format going forward.
Yeah, so people can watch this bloodbath live. I am excited about that.
Should be fun. Stay tuned to the network Twitter at NBL Network, and of course the league Twitter at Bomber League for all the news around the Bomber League, and of course everything about your 2 favorite hosts here. I'm OSU. My co-host is Sonny Weaver. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Vote down below who you thought win this one. Again, hashtag OSU win, hashtag Sonny wins right down below in the comments. Make sure OSU stays undefeated, and we'll see you next week here on Highly Debatable.